Good afternoon. My name is Gage Gunnarsson, and this is my persuasive speech on why American foods are unhealthier than foods in other countries. When was the last time you actually stopped and thought about what's in the foods you grab off grocery shelves or order from your favorite fast food place? Most of us don't. We're busy, we're hungry, and we trust whatever's being sold to us is safe. But here's the thing: many of the additives, dyes, and chemicals that show up in everyday American products are restricted, labeled, or even banned in other countries, especially in Europe. That means the food we consider normal here would raise major red flags somewhere else. After digging into international food laws and comparing them to US regulations, I figured there was a lot more to be worried about, and I could not ignore it any further. And that's why today I figured I'd make my persuasive speech on why the US is way unhealthier than Europe and other countries around the world. But my thesis is pretty simple. American foods are significantly unhealthier than other foods because of the weak regulations and the widespread of questionable additives and cultural habits that normalize unhealthy eating. That being said, my three main topics are how U.S. regulations differ from other countries, specific additives and dyes banned elsewhere but common in the U.S., and how cultural and environmental factors shape our eating habits. But starting with the simple stuff, let's see how they end up on shelves. Before doing my research, I genuinely did not know how the U.S. gauged their systems or labels, but after doing my research, I understand they use more of a risk-based system. Basically, when a food or ingredient has been historically and considered safe, or genuinely safe, it can be added to the regular labels or foods without FDA approval. That means a lot of ingredients can kind of get by just being around before, whereas Europe takes a completely different approach. They use a precautionary principle, which means if there's any concern with an additive safety, they kind of just restrict or ban until it's proven safe, which the result in total means it's kind of more you need to prove you're safe with different approval lists and different maximum usage levels for different ingredients, and much stricter labeling requirements. The difference is the multinational brands that sell the same products worldwide often sell cleaner, safer formulations for Europe, often competing with like US levels of red 40 and yellow 5, which are two main ingredients we'll get into later. But they're everywhere in American snacks and cereals and whatnot, whereas Europe's kind of like, hey, if we're using this, you need to use it in very small proportions or just ban them altogether. So jumping into those two ingredients that I mentioned just a second ago, what exactly are they? Some additives and dyes that are banned elsewhere that are in the US, some prominent names that you might even recognize. Let's talk about just like red 40, yellow 5, yellow 6, blue 1, blue 2, blue 3, all different names. We got Roy G. Biv in our ingredients. They belong in a chemistry lab, not in the food we eat. But they're everything between foods, drinks, anything you can think of has either one additive or another. And sometimes when you read these names of labels and whatever you're eating, it just does not belong in your digestive system. It's criminal. It's criminal. And it's not just the dyes we eat, the things that belong in chemistry labs that you're eating day to day. There's also two big examples of potassium bromate, which I honestly didn't know much about before researching, but it's used in most flours contexts to improve textures of different flour-based contents. And then titanium dioxide, a whitening agent used in candies and baked goods. These names do not belong in your digestive system. They sound like straight metals. I don't know why these are under foods, but both are banned in the EU because of possible concerns. Both just unreal things to be putting in your body, possible cancer and potential DNA damage. Yet these ingredients are common in food for years in America. So yeah, regulations do in fact matter, but there's also a bigger picture on why we eat the way we do. Moving into my third point, and one of the most important in my opinion, is how common it is in the US to eat whatever you want and then however unhealthy something might be. Everywhere you go, there's something somewhere that just tastes good, looks good, and even is just suggested to be very good for you, where it is not good for you. Marketing is insane in the US. You can market whatever you want, whatever it is, and truthfully just lie because whatever you put in is somewhat healthy. But these names are unreal and belong in chemistry labs. If you read some of these labels and then truly looked at them, you wouldn't understand what you're eating, and half of that stuff is not okay for you. Even beyond additives and whatever you put in these labels, food is just expensive And when you find cheap, easily labeled, fun products that American food is big on, it makes unhealthy eating incredibly easy. If you put a McDonald's in every corner of the earth, there's going to be problems with the American society, and that plays a huge role in unhealthy eats, big hospital bills. Foods you're eating are not good for you, but they're placed in every corner of the world. When you throw marketers in the mix, adding things like healthy or high protein numbers into things like this, like big McDonald items that are not really that healthy for you, but that can be said are healthy because they do have things like protein in them, just kind of adds to this effect or to the culture where unhealthy food is kind of normal and you can eat whatever and it's unavoidable to eat unhealthy things in this society. But when you run into advertisements that are basically telling you, hey, this is actually good for you, you should eat this on a day-to-day basis, you kind of run into the same problems that American society has been struggling with for decades. So all in all, the U.S. and the European market is much different. There's major additives and different regulations on what you can and can't eat in different countries. I mostly looked at the U.S. and Europe because they are pretty similar in what you can eat and what you can't. But several synthetic food dyes and additives are banned or restricted in elsewhere and are still very common in the foods we eat or the foods in your grocery store. And the cultural and market forces make cheap, convenient, easy, accessible food very easy for Americans, with every corner having a McDonald's, a Burger King, a Wingstop, which Wingstop is pretty good actually. It's very easy to see why this problem exists and why they can put anything in your food because they're on every corner of the earth. But it is because of these gaps in regulations and the continued use of controversial additives that you might need to look around and think to yourself before you start eating whatever. American food remains less healthy than other countries, and that just remains because we buy whatever they sell us. So the next time you shop or order out, think what's normal here might be flagged somewhere else. And reading labels and choosing minimally processed foods is a powerful first step towards eating healthier. But I feel like the most important part of the speech is kind of just understand that information and education is the most important first step towards this. Action is next. So next time you are thinking about going to eat somewhere you shouldn't, just consider what you're eating is definitely not allowed somewhere else. This is all my speech. Thank you for watching. Have a good one.